My wife was secretly cozying up with her first love behind my back. I merely smirked coldly, pretending I hadn't seen a thing. However, when the Sioux group went bankrupt, she finally lowered her proud head, kneeling before me like a stray dog begging for scraps. "Zay, please forgive me, all right?" I chuckled softly, a flicker of contempt crossing my lips as I spoke nonchalantly. "Forgive you? You're not even worthy of appearing before me now." After a long silence, Su Qingyue finally spoke. "Zay, are you really going to drive me to a dead end?" I smiled, letting my actions prove that everything was exactly as she wished. "Why the change of heart now? You might as well go to hell with your precious first love. The mortal realm is truly no place for the likes of you." Su Qingyue and I were university schoolmates. From the moment she entered campus, she was the belle courted by countless admirers. Back then, though, she was exceedingly proud, looking down on everyone. Her icy demeanor kept people thousands of miles away. The irony was, this goddess in others' eyes was merely another man's devoted lapdog. She had a childhood sweetheart, a boy named Song Yanley. They had all grown up together, part of the same social circle. Everyone knew Su Qingyue adored Song Yanley, willing to give anything for him. Whenever Song Yanley appeared, her gaze would invariably be drawn to him. However, I had always scoffed at Song Yanley. Apart from his handsome face, he really had no substantial skills to speak of. In most people's eyes, Song Yanley and Su Qingyue were undoubtedly a match made in heaven. And indeed, they did end up together. But Song Yanley's personality was simply too arrogant. The relationship ultimately ended in a breakup. Despite this, the two were still often seen together. After all, they were childhood sweethearts. If they couldn't be lovers, they could still be like brother and sister. Except, the love in Su Qingyue's eyes had turned into desolation. Upon graduating from university, Song Yanley went abroad under his family's arrangements. Su Qingyue, meanwhile, was downcast for a long time. Following our separate life paths, Su Qingyue and I should never have crossed paths again. Although both our families belonged to the same circle, they weren't particularly close. What I hadn't expected was that, a year later, the person sitting across from me at a matchmaking meeting would be Su Qingyue. Having not seen her for a year, she looked considerably haggard. It turned out the Su family's business was in trouble. In all of Jiangcheng, no one was willing to help them. Not that you could blame others for being realistic. The only real asset the Su family had left to offer was Su Qingyue herself. It was only because my parents knew I'd liked her, but never confessed that they agreed to this arrangement. Su Qingyue had lost her former arrogance, though she was still just as beautiful. "Zay, you'll help me, won't you?" My heart softened. I nodded, fulfilling a dream from my younger days. However, I had still made my preparations. Those days were happy. We were practically inseparable almost every day. I kept her company, watching movies, traveling. You could say I was meticulously attentive. She, too, seemed to have accepted fate's arrangement, always striving to be a good wife. And with the Liu family's help, the Su family gradually emerged from the crisis of bankruptcy. Perhaps it was because I had saved the Su group. Back then, she relied on me utterly. Towards others, she was cold and dismissive, regardless of whether they were men or women. Before the wedding, I smilingly pushed an overseas market investment proposal towards her. She frowned slightly. "Zay, isn't this plan a bit too risky? After all, it requires engaging in a business war with local forces." At that moment, gazing at her near-perfect face, my eyes filled with tenderness. "Qingyue, the risk isn't significant. Your father proposed it, saying he wanted to test your capabilities." Biting her lip, Su Qingyue eventually agreed. It was true her father had proposed it. However, I was the one who had devised the entire plan. The goal this time wasn't merely to develop the overseas market. For the Su family, it was a chance to see if Su Qingyue, the sole heir, had the ability to take over the family business. For me, it was about making her completely sever ties with Song Yanley. Although after Song Yanley went abroad, their interactions had all but ceased. What had happened before remained a thorn in my side. The target of this business war was the Song family. Not targeting the Song family directly, but rather clipping their wings. After this business war concluded, while the Song family wouldn't go bankrupt, their days wouldn't be easy either. Just a little more pressure, and the Song family would be doomed beyond recovery. Su Qingyue did possess considerable business acumen. The plan progressed smoothly, and the Su group profited immensely. Perhaps it was because she ultimately had to cross swords, figuratively speaking, with her former lover, leaving her feeling guilty. In the end, Su Qingyue completely cut off all contact with Song Yanley. Over the next 3 years, the Su group's business grew ever larger. Our affection for each other didn't fade with the passage of time. Towards her, I became even more attentive and considerate, granting her every wish. She, too, was exceedingly gentle and thoughtful. In the eyes of others, we were undoubtedly the model couple within our circle. Countless people envied, were jealous of, and resented us. Those who hated me most were, naturally, the Song family. I had said long ago that Song Yanley was incompetent. Regarding the previous matter, Su Qinghua hadn't delivered the killing blow as I'd instructed, leaving ample room to maneuver. Yet, the Song family still went bankrupt under Song Yanley's leadership. 3 years later, he was forced to return to the country. And so many things changed. The day Song Yanley returned to the country, Su Qinghua came home very late. "I'm sorry, A's," she slurred, clearly drunk. "I had a contract to sign at the company today. I had a few drinks with the client." Watching her, I said nothing, remaining as gentle as ever. Though I knew it was all lies. I had known Song Yanley contacted her 3 months ago. No, she had contacted Song Yanley. None of it escaped my notice. Back then, I still harbored illusions. 3 years of tenderness. Surely it couldn't all be fake, and that business war had long ago placed irrevocable shackles on their relationship. I believed Su Qinghua was no longer that naive little girl. She should be able to distinguish reality from fantasy. Handsome faces are everywhere, but the Su group wasn't built on good looks alone. "Go take a shower now," I urged gently. "You must feel awful after drinking so much. I'll have the housekeeper make you some hangover soup." Perhaps Su Qinghua thought her concealment was perfect, acting cute just like always. "Hubby," she cooed, "I was so happy today. If this investment works out, we can make quite a bit." I said nothing, merely guiding her gently to the bathroom. The contract was real. Whether it would turn a profit, however, was another matter entirely. After all, the contract she signed today was an investment intended to help Song Yanley rebuild the Song family fortunes. Using the excuse of unfinished company business, I retreated to the study alone. Opening my email, I found a file sent by my assistant. Over these past 3 years, no matter how the Su family struggled, they couldn't change the fact that the Su group had been thoroughly infiltrated by the Lu group. If I wished it, the Su group held no secrets from me. This email detailed the specifics of this new collaboration. There was even a photograph, taken when Song Yanley and Su Qinghua signed the contract. Though both were sitting upright and formal, the affection in their eyes couldn't be concealed. I let out a few cold laughs. Impressive, truly. Song Yanley had only just returned, yet he'd already precisely targeted his prey. And Su Qinghua. She had disappointed me enough. Did she truly believe the Song Yanley of today was still that naive, arrogant boy from years ago? Perhaps her memory was poor. No one had reminded her what kind of humiliation the business war 3 years prior had brought upon the Song family. By the time Su Qinghua finished her shower and drank the hangover soup, she had sobered up considerably. She knocked on my study door. "Ace, it's getting late. Let's go to bed." Looking at the woman before me, I paused for a moment before asking the question that weighed on my mind. "I heard Song Yanley is back in the country. Did you know?" My wife was visibly stunned for a moment, the panic in her eyes quickly masked. "Is that so? I haven't had any contact with him for ages. You know, because of the Song family's bankruptcy, I'm the one he hates the most." Seeing the ambiguous smile on my face, Su Qinghua clearly didn't know how to continue. She could only force a change of subject, proactively snuggling into my arms and wheedling, "Oh, hubby, don't overthink things. Song Yanley and I grew up together, but you should know, absolutely nothing could ever happen between us again. I'm your wife now, and I'll never betray you. My husband is far more charming than he is." As she spoke, she reached out to gently stroke my face, a playful smile dancing in her eyes. "My Ace needs to have confidence in himself, okay? In my eyes, you're the best. I only love you." With that, she pressed herself against my chest, her body wriggling sensuously. I knew she was aroused. Whether that passion was truly for me, I couldn't be certain. Fortunately, she hadn't cheated yet. This kind of intimacy between husband and wife, I could still accept it. That night, she was wild, and I, too, needed to vent the frustration coiling in my heart. This went on for a month. Su Qinghua and Song Yanley never crossed that red line. That's right, I had my assistant keep a close watch on them. But their relationship grew increasingly intimate, and they met more frequently. It became infuriating to watch. Using the excuse of being busy with the company, I booked a flight directly. Getting away for a change of scenery was merely incidental. The most important thing was that they still hadn't taken that final step, their fear solely centered on being discovered by me. Since that was the case, I would create the opportunity for them. Saves them the daily sneaking around, which is just too painful to watch. The Sue Corporation, buoyed by the Liu Corporation support, had already grown into a behemoth. Since they no longer wanted it, it was time they coughed up those profits, principal and interest included. Every day, my assistant dutifully reported the situation back to me. Seeing the photos of the two entering and leaving a hotel together, I smiled. Proceed according to plan. Since some people don't want to live well, let's not force them. My assistant understood and went out to make the arrangements. Half a month later, I returned to Jiang City and headed straight for the Sue Corporation. There were several business operations the company needed to transfer now, and Song Yanley was the best choice. The assistant's intelligence was completely accurate. By the time I arrived at the Sue Corporation, I caught the two of them right in Su Qingyue's office. They were inside, laughing and chatting. Perhaps mindful that it was a public space, they weren't doing anything too excessive. At least, nothing overtly intimate was apparent. Seeing me enter, a flicker of guilt crossed Su Qingyue's face. "You're back? Why didn't you call ahead? I could have picked you up." I let out a few cold laughs. If I had called, wouldn't I have missed such a spectacular scene? Su Qingyue instantly panicked. She likely remembered something she had told me before and looked somewhat embarrassed. "Husband, Brother Yanley came to see me about business. You weren't here these past few days, so I didn't tell you right away." Song Yanley looked at me, a trace of smugness flashing in his eyes. But he still seemed aware of his current position. He walked over, his tone holding a note of ingratiation. "Long time no see." I didn't shake his hand, instead looking him up and down. The hostility in my eyes was completely undisguised. 3 years. He still had that pretty boy look. Never mind that the Song family was bankrupt. The clothes on his back were still haute couture. He had also groomed himself to appear utterly suave. Far handsomer than I am. No wonder Su Qingyue was swayed. I raised an eyebrow, utterly disdainful. "Young Master Song. I only heard recently you'd returned to the country. I didn't expect to run into you so soon. It truly must be fate." As I spoke, I cast a meaningful glance at Su Qingyue. Then I continued, "I wonder what business young Master Song has with my wife this time. As far as I know, the Song family is already bankrupt. There shouldn't be much business to discuss with Qingyue, right?" After these words, the atmosphere in the office turned completely awkward. Song Yanley stood there, somewhat unsure how to handle the situation and my aggressive words. After a long moment, Song Yanley managed to compose himself. His smile was strained. "It seems I'm not welcome here. I know I've caused trouble for you both this time, but I really only came back to discuss business. There aren't many people I know well in Jiang City anymore. That's why I sought out Qingyue. Please don't overthink things." Su Qingyue stood up as well. Perhaps seeing her sweetheart treated unfairly, she couldn't help but want to stand up for him. "Husband, don't speak so harshly. Brother Yanley really did return this time to discuss business. Look, we were just discussing an investment." With that, she pushed several documents across the desk with an air of importance. I gave him a cursory glance. About what the assistant had found. It was indeed a collaboration, just the kind designed to reap rewards with no real input. A classic empty-handed wolf ploy. I forcibly suppressed the dissatisfaction and disgust rising within me. After all, my plan was extensive. I had to endure at least for today. "Su Qingyue, since you've made the wrong choice, don't blame me for setting this trap for you." Seeing my silence, Su Qingyue naturally knew I was displeased. She didn't dare say much more, merely courteously asked Song Yanley to step out. "Brother Yanley, why don't you step outside first? I need to talk with my husband. I understand about your collaboration proposal. We can discuss it in detail later." Song Yanley nodded and turned to leave. On the surface, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Once the office door closed, I stopped Su Qingyue before she could start explaining. I simply took several contracts out of my briefcase. "These are the businesses I told you about, the ones Liu Corporation is preparing to transfer. Didn't you say you had a buyer lined up? For your sake, I won't ask for much. Market price, 500 million. Su Qingyue pressed her red lips together, but didn't haggle over the price, signing the agreement readily. I stood up, ready to leave. She called out to me from behind. You have to believe me. There's really nothing between Song Yanley and me. I would absolutely never do anything to betray you." I nodded without saying anything. Instead, I offered a reassuring smile. Su Qingyue was likely still immersed in the joy of securing those business deals. She was unaware that while the profits from those ventures were considerable, the risks involved were, at this stage, infinitely magnified. The banks had already begun tightening loans in these sectors. The moment the Su group stepped in, they would already have one foot in hell. What's more, she was planning to collaborate with that good-for-nothing Song Yanley. Consider these 500 million merely some interest collected in advance. Within 3 months, those business operations have been fully integrated into the Sue Group. The Sue Group also announced its collaboration with the newly re-established Song Group. Perhaps to console me, the terms of the cooperation ostensibly adhered to standard business practices. However, as the collaboration deepened, Su Qingwei started coming home later and later. Faced with my scrutinizing gaze, she would patiently explain at first. Zay, the collaboration is at a crucial stage right now. It won't be this busy after a while, and I'll spend proper time with you. Later, there was mostly just silence. Regarding this, I never probed too deeply. I merely had the Lu Group tighten its cooperation with the Shun Group, and, leveraging my connections in the banks, began to slow down the pace of loans to the Su Group. I even used the excuse of being busy at the company to rarely stay at home. Su Qingwen noticed nothing amiss in all this, still immersed in her lovey-dovey affair with Song Yanley, yet believing she had hidden it well. On the very day the Song Group officially announced the deepening of their cooperation with the Su Group to jointly expand into new business markets, Su Qingwei didn't come home. She just sent me a message. Zay, there's a company celebration banquet tonight. I might be home late. You should rest first. Seeing this message, I merely gave a cold smile. My assistant had already sent me photos from the event. She was with Song Yanley. It was indeed a celebration banquet. If only their expressions hadn't been so suggestive, it might have passed for a normal business collaboration. I chuckled coldly and dialed my assistant's number. Start shorting the Su Group tomorrow. The assistant acknowledged and hung up. Turning back to the study, with the battle imminent, I needed to carefully consider if there were any loopholes. I had my reasons for doing this. Although Su Qingwei and I were joined by a marriage alliance, the Su Group had nothing to do with me financially. We had both notarized our prenuptial assets. Even if the Su Group went bankrupt, it wouldn't affect me in the slightest. On the contrary, I stood to make a substantial profit. This time, I would utterly cast the Su family back into hell. It wasn't that I was ruthless, but the Su family had acted dishonorably in this matter. According to the information my assistant dug up, Su Qingyue's parents had long discovered her relationship with Song Yanley. Although they had privately admonished her, they let it develop, while outwardly helping to cover it up. I have no other virtues, except that I hold a grudge. Your Su family was revived thanks to the Lu family. Since you've chosen betrayal, then you can all go beg neatly together in the trash bins. Busy times always fly by. When I looked up, I realized dawn had broken, and Su Qingyue still hadn't returned. It seems the two shared quite a wonderful night. Sneering, I got into the car. Let's go to the Su residence. After giving the instruction, I closed my eyes to rest. Barely 10 minutes later, the car stopped in front of the Su family villa. Su Qingyue's parents were quite surprised to see me. It was only 6 in the morning. For a son-in-law to arrive alone at his in-law's house was somewhat inappropriate. Dad, Mom, Qingyue has prepared a surprise for you both and specifically asked me to come and invite you over. Although they were suspicious, they couldn't resist my insistence. Resignedly, they had no choice but to come with me. Soon, the car stopped at Song Yanley's villa. No, to be precise, it was the Su family's villa. It was just that after Song Yanley returned to the country, Su Qingwei couldn't bear for her sweetheart to stay in a hotel, so she settled him in the villa. When the car stopped in front of the villa, Su Qingyue's parents' faces turned pale. Evidently, they knew everything perfectly well. With a wave of my hand, the villa's housekeeper opened the door. I used my eyes to stop Su Qingyue's parents from speaking. Dad, Mom, the surprise is inside. Follow me. By now, Su Qingyue's parents had resigned themselves to their fate. Despite their extreme reluctance, they walked inside, escorted by bodyguards. Perhaps exhausted from the previous night, Song Yanley and Su Qingwei hadn't woken up yet. Not until we pushed open the bedroom door did we find the two still lying disheveled in bed. What are you doing? Get out. All of you get out. Su Qingyue's shriek was piercing in the early morning, yet it yielded no result. Forget leaving. Not a single person present took even half a step back. Witnessing this scene, Su Qingyue's father, despite having braced himself, still wanted to salvage the situation. Not for Su Qingyue's sake, but for the Su Corporation, for the Su family. I was certain that if the Su family had another daughter at this moment, she would be delivered to my villa tonight as a gift of atonement. Su's father rushed forward and delivered several slaps across Su Qingyue's face. You rebellious daughter. I told you long ago to drink less, drink less. Now you finally let someone take advantage of you, haven't you? Hurry up and get up. Apologize to Aze. As he spoke, he threw several punches at Song Yanley, knocking him off the bed. Song Yanley tumbled to the floor, clutching his head, not daring to look up. Everything happened too quickly for Su Qingyue to even react. It was only under her father's frantic gestures that she finally snapped back to her senses. Right now, she had no time for the cowering, wailing Song Yanley. Heedless of whether her thin nightgown offered enough coverage, she gritted her teeth and knelt rigidly on the floor. "Hubby, I really don't know what happened. At last night's celebration banquet, I drank too much. When I woke up again, all of you were already gathered around." Saying this, she even prepared to crawl forward a few steps to clutch my leg. I lifted my foot and kicked her away. Coldly, I pointed at the hickey-covered skin of her neck. "You think I believe you? Su Qingyue, you truly are shameless." Seeing my disbelief, Su Qingyue immediately put on a wronged expression. "Hubby, everything I said is true. It must have been Song Yanley. He took advantage of me while I was drunk. I never, ever thought of betraying you." I couldn't help but scoff. "Everything you said is true." She nodded hastily. "Absolutely true. Hubby, you have to believe me." With another cold laugh, I tossed her mobile phone towards her. "Fine, but I can't judge the situation just like this. Call the police. According to your story, he acted against your will. As long as you get him sent to prison, I'll forgive you." The moment my words landed, Su Qingyue fell silent. Her face turned deathly pale. She looked at me helplessly, then shot a pleading gaze towards her parents. But at this moment, her parents were equally powerless. I had given her the choice. I had given her the chance. But she was utterly incapable of grasping it. Everyone present knew Su Qingyue was lying. Moreover, if the police were called, Song Yanley undoubtedly possessed more than enough evidence. At the very least, the WeChat chat logs and the surveillance footage from the road would prove that the claim of acting against her wouldn't hold water. Then, her lies would inevitably be exposed, and she would completely alienate Song Yanley. Her only option was to find a way to dissuade me from calling the police. "Hubby, I know I was wrong, but we can't call the police. Song Yanley just finalized a cooperation agreement with the Su Corporation. If something like this gets out, the Su Corporation will face enormous risks. Please, I'm begging you. Let's not call the police, okay? We'll send Song Yanley abroad, and we'll never let him come back, okay?" Hearing this, the light in Song Yanley's eyes dimmed considerably. But did Su Qingyue truly believe this matter could be swept under the rug so easily? Perhaps I had been too lenient with her these past few years, allowing her to forget that I, Lu Zhe, have never been one for mercy. "Su Qingyue, everything can proceed as you wish, provided you are prepared to bear the consequences." With that said, I turned and walked away, leaving the entire space to Song Yanley and the Su family. Su Qingyue frantically tried to chase after me, but my bodyguards resolutely blocked her path. By the time I sat down in my office, my assistant, ever perceptive, presented a stack of documents. This assistant has been with me for many years and naturally knew what I needed right now. Those matters of love and affection could all take a backseat now. My only wish, the bankruptcy of the Su Group. Looking over the plan to short the Su Group, I gave it some thought and made a few adjustments. The plan was now practically perfect. There was just one oversight, the newly established Song Group. Since that fool Song Yanley hadn't learned his lesson, we might as well deal with them together, lest they cause trouble later. Adjusted according to my requirements. This time, we must ensure the Su Group is completely swallowed. As for the Song Group, we'll start with them. My assistant understood immediately, said nothing more, and turned to leave and make the arrangements. The Lu Group had developed rapidly over these years, continually expanding its overseas business. Previously, out of consideration for Su Qingyue's feelings, I would even give the Su Group a hand in profitable ventures. But now, that past business cooperation would become the first sharp sword aimed at the Su Group. In just 3 short days, the Lu Group completed all its preparations. "Mr. Lu, everything is ready. Your orders." As my assistant reported, I was still gazing at the sky outside the window. I remember the day I had that matchmaking meeting with Su Qingyue 3 years ago. The sky had been just as blue. It was a pity that beneath that sky, the youth with eyes full of affection would never appear again. Closing my eyes, I bid farewell to the person I used to be. Begin. Soon, news that the Lu Group had withdrawn its investment from the Su Group spread through the banks and among all their partners. The billions in funds mobilized by my assistant began to frantically short the Su Group. Everyone understands the principle of kicking a man when he's down. The first problems arose with the Su Group's overseas project. This was the very project Su Qingyue and Song Yanley were collaborating on, intended to rebuild the Song family's fortunes. It could be said that the Su Group had invested nearly half its entire net worth into this project. Just as the Sue Group's capital chain was completely severed, news broke of financial fraud within the Song Group. Swiftly following was the report that overseas financial institutions had downgraded the Song Group's credit rating. At this moment, Su Qingyue was still frantically trying to figure out how to beg for my forgiveness. However, I didn't answer her calls, ignored her messages, and even turned away anyone from the Su Group who came to visit, without exception. With that, the Su family no longer had the energy to seek me out, focusing entirely on dealing with the crisis at hand. This crisis struck harder than the one 3 years prior. After all, there was no second Liu Zhe to come to her rescue. Soon, banks stopped approving loans for the Su Group and even began demanding early repayment. Those business partners also ceased cooperation one after another, starting to press for payment on outstanding accounts. By the time Su Qingyue waited for me downstairs at the company building, half a month had already passed. She looked somewhat haggard, her makeup no longer as exquisite as before. It was evident she hadn't had an easy time lately. Seeing me emerge, she jogged a few steps and rushed over. Just as the bodyguards were about to step forward and intercept her, Su Qingyue dropped straight to her knees. Her voice was filled with boundless sorrow. "Ace, can you truly not forgive me? I admit I disappointed you that night, but I truly chose not to call the police for the sake of the company's interests. Besides, both the Liu and Su families have reputations to uphold. If this got out, it wouldn't benefit you either." Gazing coldly at the woman before me, my heart grew even colder. Even now, does she still think she can deceive me? In an instant, I gave my assistant a half-smiling, half-mocking wave. The assistant understood and handed over a thick file folder. "Take a look. The answers you seek are in here. You claim you and Song Yanley are innocent, that what happened that day occurred while you were drunk. Then please explain the matter of you two getting a hotel room 3 months ago. Don't tell me you just slept chastely. Don't forget, the day after getting the room, he moved into the villa you prepared." Su Qingyue grew anxious. She hadn't expected me to uncover all this. She had clearly been so discreet. She wanted to explain, but didn't know where to begin. After all, the evidence was irrefutable. After a long moment, a wan smile touched her lips. "Ace, can you truly not forgive me? As long as you forgive me, I'll agree to any condition." I chuckled softly, a flicker of disdain crossing my lips, and said nonchalantly, "Forgive you? You're no longer even worthy of appearing before me." Another long silence followed. Su Qingyue finally spoke. "Ace, must you really force me to a dead end?" I stared into her eyes, uttering each word distinctly. "Su Qingyue, you know this. All these years, I have cherished you meticulously, never causing you displeasure. Thinking back now, perhaps I was too good to you, only to raise an ungrateful wretch. 3 years ago, I gave you a chance. If you had made a clean break with Song Yanley back then, I wouldn't have minded the past. But alas, I never give second chances. Do you really think Song Yanley truly likes you? Or are you naive enough to believe that incident 3 years ago would allow you two to meet again with a smile and let bygones be bygones?" She opened her mouth, wanting to say something, but I ignored her completely. Giving her no further chance to speak, I stood up, got into the car, and with a thud, shut out the outside world. For the next month, Su Qingyue frantically tried to find me. Unable to get past the gates of the Liu Corporation, she waited desperately outside every day. But I had given the security guards strict orders. Under no circumstances were they to let her in. Seeing that waylaying me at the company was fruitless, she switched to waiting outside my villa gates. Night after night, she knelt outside, thrown out repeatedly by the bodyguards, yet she persisted. It couldn't be helped. The Song Group was now bankrupt, and the Su Group was also on the brink of collapse. Tearfully, Su Qingyue broke free from the bodyguard's grasp, clinging desperately to the villa gates. "Husband, please forgive me, won't you? I swear, I'll be completely devoted to you from now on. I'll deal with Song Yanley. I'll make sure he never appears before you again, and I won't contact him anymore." It was simply too noisy. Stone-faced, I appeared at the main gate. "Su Qingyue, don't you find your own words laughable? I gave you a chance. I warned you back when Song Yanley returned to the country. You were the one who insisted on jumping into the fire pit. Who can you blame? With the time you're spending here, you'd be better off going back and figuring out how to live the rest of your life." Her affair with Song Yanley was a hurdle in my heart I could never overcome. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made her destroy the Song Group with her own hands 3 years ago. But clearly, Su Qingyue still hadn't realized this. Or perhaps, she was simply unwilling to face reality. She came forward trying to grab me. "Husband, I've really thought things through during this time. The person I truly love is you. It has always been you. Believe me, He did say he wanted to get back together before, but I didn't agree. That time at the hotel, it was only because he was drunk that I took care of him. Such lies, even a 3-year-old wouldn't believe them. I looked at her mockingly. Su Qingyue, perhaps you should think before you lie. Do you really think Lu Zhe is so easily fooled? Or do you assume the information my assistant uncovered is false? Let me tell you, I have people inside the song group. Su Qingyue's face instantly paled. She shook her head repeatedly, hastily explaining, "Husband, it's not what you think." At this point, whether she was telling the truth or not, I no longer cared to delve into it. With a wave of my hand, I had the bodyguards show her out. It truly was showing her out, just executed a bit roughly. What had be done? Those bodyguards possessed ample force, but lacked any training in etiquette. Things having come to this pass, her parents could finally no longer remain idle. They must have guessed that Su Qingyue alone couldn't salvage the Su group's dire straits. Shamelessly, they had someone arrange a meeting with me. After a moment's silence, I agreed. It was necessary to make them abandon all hope regarding certain matters. Regardless, I was still the Su family's son-in-law, and these actions had already cast a significant shadow upon my reputation. In the office, Su Qingyue's parents appeared constrained, devoid of the usual arrogance befitting business magnates. Their expressions were filled with apprehension. Qingyue was truly in the wrong this time, but you've been married for so many years. There's no need to let things escalate to this point of no return. If you truly cannot overcome this, then fine, you can divorce. The Su family will provide every bit of compensation due. But please, we beg you to stop. If this continues, the Su family will be bankrupt. After all, our families have collaborated for so long. Letting an outsider benefit from our conflict is simply not worth it. I toyed leisurely with my watch, not even deigning to look at them directly. Only when their throats were parched from speaking did they abruptly realize that not only had no one offered them so much as a glass of water, but I hadn't even invited them to sit. Do as you wish regarding the divorce. In any case, the Su family will go bankrupt this time. Su Qingyue's parents swayed, apparently stunned that I had left them absolutely no room for maneuver. Her mother's eyes reddened, and disregarding her dignified image, she tearfully implored me. Must you be so utterly ruthless? Though Qingyue erred, we have always treated you with sincerity. Punish Qingyue if you must, but can you truly bear to see us cast out onto the streets in our old age? I lifted my head, glanced at her, a sneer playing on my lips. Mother-in-law, perhaps you need a visit to the hospital? If my memory serves me right, barely a month after Song Yanley returned to the country, you discovered Su Qingyue's entanglement with him. Though you might have advised her against it, your greater effort went into helping your precious daughter conceal it, didn't it? You covered for her in my presence at least 3 times. Am I correct? The Su family seems to have forgotten who helped them weather the storm, forgotten the promises they made to me. Since that is the case, there's no longer any reason for them to exist. Su Qingyue's mother froze, the panic in her eyes instantly becoming impossible to conceal. Flustered, she tried to explain. I ignored her further, waving dismissively for my assistant to escort them out. In the days that followed, the Su family came to understand that I had absolutely no intention of letting them off the hook. They began frantically trying to rally support from Jiangxing's major corporations, willing to promise anything, accept any condition, if only it could save the Su group. Pitifully, no one was willing to risk offending the Lu group in exchange for what amounted to an empty promise. The Su corporation was finally bankrupt. In the Su family villa, Su Qingyue, representing the Su corporation, signed the bankruptcy and merger agreement. Today, there was not a trace of life in Su Qingyue's eyes. Don't you feel even a shred of nostalgia for our past? I know you liked me for many years, ever since university. All of this now is my own doing. I asked for nothing else. Just let me take my parents abroad, never to return. Can you allow that? What utter drivel. I looked at the Su family with a cold smile, and of course, at Song Yanley standing beside them. Since the atmosphere had reached this point, I might as well reveal the truth. Now that this moment had arrived, it was time to completely extinguish the Su family's last hope. I clapped my hands, and a man walked in from outside. Su Qingyue's parents showed no particular reaction, but Su Qingyue and Song Yanley were stunned on the spot. You actually betrayed me. Song Yanley pointed a trembling finger at the man. The newcomer smiled faintly. President Song, long time no see. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Lu Chong, currently the manager of Lu Corporation's overseas branch. This statement caused Song Yanley to completely break down. I smiled and gestured for Lu Chong to stand beside me. Let me explain everything to you all. 3 years ago, I did indeed like Su Qingwei, but I was also wary of you, young Master Song. So, at the Su family suggestion, I had Su Qingwei make a move against your family's company. It was because Su Qingwei's heart softened, or perhaps because she still had lingering feelings for you, that your Song family managed to survive for a few more years. My words didn't seem to provoke any dissatisfaction. After all, these were things everyone already knew. But then my tone shifted, and I began speaking of things they didn't know. It was around that time that Liu Chong became part of the Liu Corporation. His purpose was to gain your trust, and then keep a close eye on your every move. For these past few years, everything about the Song Corporation has been under my control. Frankly, if I hadn't wanted you to return to the country, I had countless ways to prevent it. Having said that, I paused, my gaze sweeping across their faces. I left them hanging for a moment. So, do you know why I allowed you to return, and why I turned a blind eye to your dealings with Su Qingwei? Song Yanley was just an incompetent fool. How could he possibly figure out the intricacies? He shook his head in confusion. Seeing this, I couldn't be bothered to let him guess any longer. It's simple. After the Song family went bankrupt, Su Qingwei contacted you proactively, didn't she? Saying she wanted to help you stage a comeback. At these words, Su Qingwei's face turned deathly pale. Her lips moved, but no words came out. At that point, I could have easily stopped everything. However, you were consulting with Liu Chong, who had always seemed so loyal to you, weren't you? Discussing how to use this opportunity to utterly crush the Su family and avenge what happened back then. Your ambiguous relationship with Su Qingwei was also something you deliberately orchestrated, wasn't it? Just to get revenge on this woman for what she did years ago. Much of the information I received was deliberately leaked to me by you, through Liu Chong. At this point, the Su parents were glaring furiously, not only at Song Yanley, but also at their own daughter. I waved my hand, signaling everyone not to get agitated. Chuckling softly, I stood up. Just before walking out the door, I turned back once more. I just wanted to watch you dogs bite each other. Now I've given you the chance. Please, let the performance begin. Oh, right, I forgot to tell you. Do try to live well. I want to watch you begging for food amidst the rubbish heaps. This villa belongs to me now. Please move out as soon as possible. Otherwise, your only option will be to live under a bridge with the homeless. An hour later, a fierce blaze engulfed the Su family villa. According to the assistant's report, a violent argument erupted within the villa just after I departed. Su Qingwei confronted Song Yanley venomously, feeling her kindness had been utterly betrayed. Song Yanley, I was kind enough to help you rebuild the Song family, yet you constantly plotted against me. With that, she seized an ashtray from the living room and hurled it at him. Song Yanley knew he wouldn't make it out alive today. Resigned to his fate, he threw caution to the wind. Su Qingwei, I despise you more than anyone in this life. We broke up long ago. I even went abroad, but just because your Su family needed a marriage alliance, you targeted mine. Even if every life in your Su family were sacrificed, it wouldn't be enough to cleanse your sins. Hearing this, Su Qingwei finally seemed to snap. The love of her youth, the guilt from 3 years of marriage, finally coalesced into boundless fury. Soon, they were grappling violently within the villa, after Su Qingwei, in a struggle, killed Song Yanley. Seeing the bodyguards surrounding the villa outside the windows, she knew there was no other way out for her. Laughing maniacally, she rushed into the kitchen and set the villa ablaze, turning it into an inferno. Throughout it all, the assistant and the bodyguards simply watched in silence. Only once the inferno truly took hold did they assist in calling the authorities.